So that leads us into part 2. In this video I'll elaborate more on what I mean by concept as related information. Where we draw the line in our definitions defines the limitations of our perception. Concept delta mapping straddles the singularities of order and influence to get at the truth. There's a little introduction to trinary towards the end. I use trinary logic in my own way, so I don't use the regular terminology, which is ternary and trits. If you stick with these videos, you'll see more later, so don't worry if it seems cursory. The main point of this video is that concepts aren't the words for concepts. They are the indestructible fact that everything is relative. So, if reality is information in a causal continuum, and the affected-effector dichotomy simply straddles the translation point, what is being complex? States, information. These are simply the surface values, constantly changing. Reason lies beneath the surface, entangling states. States are simply the shark fin, cutting through the reflective shimmer of reality. Reality is not simply the surface, but the whole lake. Everything is relationships, distinguished by their various common concepts. States and information are just one side of a relationship. Take, for example, position. All positions are relative. If I move away from you, the distance between us grows larger, and the distance between myself and something with a larger yet static distance from you in the same direction as my distance growth will grow closer to me. Take a moment and touch your shirt. Grab the fabric. I am also wearing a shirt. We are real, as are our shirts. If you look around in your room, you'll see your things and your familiar walls, perhaps a scene outside your window. That is where you are. Me and my shirt are nowhere to be seen. Yet, at this very moment, my shirt and yours are locked in an unbreakable cosmic relationship of existence. If I were to get on a plane and rapidly shrink that distance and show up at your room, I could touch your shirt and you could touch mine. Even now, as you listen to this, the shirt I was wearing while recording this is lying in my house somewhere, still existing. Another example of existence is heat. Temperature is a relationship with existence itself. Something with no heat, or no place, or no change, is no thing. Energy, time, and space are simply relative measurements of change between transition points. Space is simply a measure of influenceability in a field of communicating translation points. The definition of a thing is identical to reality. That which is, and that which is not, isn't. If two things are related, that relationship exists. It is impossible to have two things in existence without a relationship between them. That's not the reality we live in. This is the second troublesome dichotomy. States are the ends of a relationship. You cannot move without changing your distance to everything else in the universe. Because we cannot always see the relationship does not mean they are constructs of our mind. Concepts are relationships between things. The difference between states is the value of the concept that relates them. Relationships are like energy. They cannot be created or destroyed, only translated from one complexity to the next. Concepts, being relationships, are real, even the concepts that relate concepts. This is because no matter the complexity of a concept, or however apparently abstract to the old paradigm, concepts are rooted in reality. They are the invisible connections between visible things. The first argument that comes up here is the "this statement is false" argument. This is a bullshit paradox created by the binary paradigm. 1 and 0 are not true and false. 0 is nothing, and 1 is true. Binary cannot properly model logic. To properly model logic, we need trinary. The trinary trick is brilliant indeed. It encompasses 0, as 0 should be, nothing. And then it has true and the opposite of true, false, positive and negative. This statement is false equals positive combined with a negative. The trick equals 0. the statement is actually meaningless. Paradox absolved. You see, people having false concepts, i.e. concepts that supposedly don't jive with reality, is an illusion. The vibrations in the air that espouse them do not carry the meaning one might interpret. Like looking at a reflection and saying that the object creating the image is not real because the image is not the object. Why did the person say something, thinking it was real, though it wasn't? That meaning, the concepts that give rise to the so-called false statement, are the true meaning of the false statement. Because you cannot properly identify the true concept does not mean that concepts aren't real. It just means that your words don't reflect reality as you think they do. Just like that person, you are in effect producing audible vibrations that don't correlate with the actual meaning of existence. The reason behind your dissonance is what I see, not the misperception, as my perception is in sync with reality. Truth is a correlation, a relationship between the relationship we intend and the relationship that exists. The brain is an intersection of meaning, and some people are centers of collisions. A child may say, I am an adult, though he isn't, just as we can say this statement is false. Some people assume that the nonsense has meaning in and of the words themselves, when the various translations that resulted in the gibberish are very meaningful and telling.